Hello, I'm Whitney Belker with Miami's Global Connection. Our show is sponsored by the Greater Miami chapter of the United Nations Association, otherwise known as the UNA. The UNA is dedicated to promoting the ideals of democracy, trade, education, healthcare, human rights, and peacekeeping. Our show is designed to raise public awareness of the global and interdependent world in which we live. We focus on leaders who are involved in diverse international issues and projects. Today we will discuss Taiwan and U.S. relations, as well as the growing challenges Taiwan faces in its pursuit of World Health Organization and UN acceptance. We will also examine the future of Taiwan's complicated relationship with China. Our guest, Otto is the director of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Division of the Taiwan Consulate in Miami. Otto's previous diplomatic tours include the Embassy of the Republic of China in Belize, Central America, and Charge d'Affaires in Dominica, West Indies, in addition to a number of interesting positions within Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Otto, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So you've been here in Miami for how long now?
Just near 1 year, since last July.
And how is your time in Miami treating you?
Oh, it's very nice. I like Miami, except the summer's weather.
Yeah, it's a little hot, huh?
Yes.
Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming here today, and I thought this would be an excellent opportunity for you to give us and our viewers a little bit of background and history of Taiwan and bring us forward to talk about Taiwan's current relationship with China.
Okay. As you may know, the Taiwan is a separate an island from the China. In 1912, it was established the first Republic of China in the Asia, and it's the first republic in Asia. And since then, we have a lot of problems like the Civil War. Until 1949, we have a serious civil war against the Communist China. And after that, we moved our central government to Taiwan. Then we start our democracy development until now.
And when did the the real democracy begin in Taiwan?
We can say that it started from 1987 when we lifted the martial law and offered the people the freedom to have their own political parties.
And I imagine that's been a difficult challenge. Perhaps you can give us a little insight in terms of, the political theories. Obviously, communism is very different than democracy. If you can give us a little insight to the transition and the challenges that Taiwan has endured.
Before 1996, we have using the indirect election to our president through delegates from our National Assembly. But since 1996, we have a direct people's vote to our president. So Mr. Lee Teng-hui was elected. He was the first Taiwanese president elected directly from the people. And in the year 2000, we have another direct election for our president. This time, it changed the power of the government. So it's the first time.
Was that in 2000 or 2001?
In year 2000.
Okay.
For 50 years, the KMT, the old ruling party, ruled Taiwan for 50 years. And only from year 2000, we have a change of regime.
Okay, and I understand that Taiwan just had a very interesting election in 2004. Can you tell us a little bit about...
I think when you mean interested is the one day, less than 24 hours before the voting, there was a gunshot.
There was a shooting incident, an assassination attempt.
Yes, and the bullet scratched, or we say grazed, the skin of our president when he and the vice president was campaigning on a jeep. But until now, we don't find any evidence to prove that was some people claimed staging and helped he won the election.
To get the sympathy votes from his party. Oh my goodness, he was almost assassinated. We've got to try to do everything we can to keep him in power.
Right.
So either someone had a very, very skilled shot there, or it was a big accident and that they didn't actually
this is a democratic and very legal system. Everything have depend on the evidence, and we trust our judicial system will handle that and find out if we can find out the real truth.
And I understand there was only a difference of 30,000 votes in question in this past election?
Yes, a little under 30,000 votes among 13 million votes.
13
million votes.
13 million votes, and now there's only 30,000 that are in question, which will determine whether or not the reigning president will maintain its power.
Right. Taiwan's population is around 23 million.
That's very interesting. So when is that supposed to be decided on?
Now the opposition party want to file a suit from the court to decide if the votes, the number is correct, but everything is under the court procedure. Like yesterday, they have discussed between two parties how to recount the vote.
It sounds very similar to a very similar situation we had here in Florida in the year 2000. So perhaps there might be some election assistance on this matter.
So from our perception is our people is so much deeply believe in the democracy, the value of a democracy, so they care so much about the procedure and the counting of the votes.
Well, as a young democracy, this is a very important issue. But let's move on. I also understand there were two very important referendums that were voted on in this past election. What was the first one that you...
The first one, we asked the people if the mainland China won't withdraw their near 500 missiles against Taiwan. So
right now there are 500 missiles pointed, Chinese missiles pointed at Taiwan, which are currently threatening the Taiwanese people.
Short-term missile against Taiwan, maybe more, because it's increasing. And if they don't do that, will our people support the government to have more budget to purchase more defensive missile system to defend us?
Okay, and what was the second referendum?
The second is after election, will the people support our government to discuss, to talk with the mainland China's government for a peaceful, stable framework for our relations?
To continue similar to perhaps the Israeli-Palestine peace talks?
Yes, because we have a good talk that's back to 1992. And after that, until now, we don't have
any
formal discussion or negotiating regarding our relations.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to speak with the Taiwan desk officer at the U.S. Department of State yesterday.
Oh, really? Yes.
And she was indicating that the U.S. is strongly supporting the formal conversations between Taiwan and China in terms of
We appreciate that, and we hope the American can encourage more this kind of dialogue.
Right. So what happened with these referendums?
Because the law speculate that it must pass the 50% of the voters, and it only reached 45%. So it didn't pass.
But very close.
Very
so
close.
It shows that Taiwan is moving in that direction, which is interesting.
Right.
Now, what is the current, we just have a little bit more time before we go into break, but if you could explain to me what is the current position of Taiwan and China. There's a lot of miscommunication and misinformation between the relations. You know,
from some aspects, we have good relations in terms of trade, cultural exchanges, and investment. But in terms of politics, we are still a deadlock there, because the main problem is we want to be our own and they treat us like
own sovereign
nations, and they still claim we are part of them, we are subordinate to them, they are the central government, and we are not a sovereign state.
In a previous